Today I want to talk about something that was often difficult for a lot of people to understand in school, and I actually got called by someone who had just started their nursing program even when I graduated, and wanted to understand this concept a little bit better. It can definitely be confusing at first, but I'm here to tell you it can be made very easy. So I'll start off with the basics and the things that I think were really needed to understand and pass your exams and to really understand the concept of it. Arterial blood gases, so ABGs. And when you think of ABGs, you should think of ROME, respiratory opposite metabolic equal. Respiratory opposite metabolic equal, but equal and opposite to what? The pH. So you look at your pH and you focus on whether your CO2 is equal or opposite, is your bicarb equal or opposite, and then you can decide from there what's really going on. So a normal pH is 7.35 to 7.45. A normal CO2 is 35 to 45, and a normal bicarb, your HCO3, is 22 to 26. People remember this in different ways. A lot of people think of 7.35 to 7.45, that's normal pH. Then they take away the 7 point, and they realize 35 to 45 is a normal CO2, and then they just remember that bicarb is 22 to 26. I like to remember it as pH is 7.35 to 7.45. That's a must to remember. Then I go to CO2, and I see the little 2 at the end, and I go up a number, so a big 3. So CO2 is 35 to 45. Then I think of bicarb, HCO3. I see that little 3 and I go down a number. So big 2, 22 to 26. Those are the normal numbers. So what is pH? pH is the safe level for our body to function, right? I worked as a lifeguard in college, and in a pool, we would test the pH, and perfect pH for the pool was 7.4. Why is that? Because that's what our body is used to. Our eyes, our mucous membranes, that's what they're used to. So when we're swimming in a pool of 7.4, our body is used to that. If you go below 7.4, you'll see a lot of kids coming out with red eyes because they're burned up, because it's way more acidotic. So ROME, biggest thing, respiratory opposite metabolic equal. So when you look at an ABG, the first thing you look at is the pH. Always look at the pH first. Is it high, is it low, or is it normal? First thing, pH. Then you look at the next number, and then you look at CO2 and bicarb. Is the CO2 high, low, or normal? Is the HCO3 high, low, or normal? So depending on that, you can really assess and see what's going on. So if the pH is low, they're acidotic. If the pH is high, they're alkalotic. And CO2 is an acid, bicarbonate is a base. So acid versus base. This is a big war between acid and bases, right? So looking at these here, I didn't draw numbers yet. I didn't draw values. I just want you to get the concept. Here, your pH is low. So what are they? Automatically in your head, they're acidotic or acidemic. CO2 is high. This is respiratory. CO2 is respiratory. We breathe out carbon dioxide. And this bicarb is metabolic. Their pH is low, their CO2 is high. Respiratory opposite. This is a respiratory acidosis. Now we'll go to the next one. Their pH is high and their CO2 is low and their bicarb is normal. So pH is high, they're alkalotic. Their CO2 is low, respiratory opposite. This is a respiratory alkalosis. They're breathing out too much CO2. And coming down here, their pH is low, their CO2 is normal, and their bicarb is low. So metabolic equal. So this is a metabolic acidosis. pH is high, they're alkalotic. Their bicarb is high, their CO2 is normal. So respiratory opposite, metabolic equal. This is a metabolic alkalosis. And that's pretty much it for ABGs. I had a quiz here initially that I was going to talk about, but I'm just going to put a link in the description of this video, and you can do practices for yourself. But the most important thing is to remember ROME. Memorize your your values, 7.35, 7.45 for pH. Bicarb HCO3 is 22 to 26. Carbon dioxide CO2 is 35 to 45. And then remember, respiratory opposite, metabolic equal. So practice, 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 and get those A's.